Today, you're going to learn how to use proportions to solve word problems. In the example, Mr. Stevens used 10 gallons of gasoline on a 180-mile trip. How many gallons of gasoline will he use on a 450-mile trip? To solve this word problem, set up a proportion. First, identify what is being compared. We are comparing Mr. Stevens' gallons of gas to the number of miles. So over here, we're in the box where it says this is like the key. We're going to write a ratio of the units we are comparing. We are comparing his gallons to Mr. Stevens' miles. Step 2, set up the proportion using what you know and use a variable to represent what you don't know. From the word problem, we know that Mr. Stevens used 10 gallons on a 180-mile trip. Then, we're trying to figure out how many gallons of gas will he use on 450-mile trip. Since 450 is miles, we need to put miles on the bottom of the next ratio. Remember, when setting up ratios, the order matters, and so does in proportions. Your order needs to stay the same. Well, we don't know how many gallons, so since it's an unknown, we use a variable. I used X. Step 3, cross multiply and use the cross products to set up an equation. This is what we did previously. So 180 is being multiplied by X, so that's 180X. And a 10 is cross multiplied with 450, and that equals 4,500. Step 4, use inverse operations to solve the equation. Since 180 and X are being multiplied, then I need to use the inverse operation and divide both sides by 180. 180x divided by 100 simplifies to 1, and 4,500 divided by 180 equals 25. So x, our unknown, equals 25. Therefore, to answer the question, how many gallons of gas will he use on a 450-mile trip, we would say Mr. Stevens used 25 gallons, don't forget your units, of gas on his trip. So the main thing to remember when doing a word problem in proportions is to keep your units the same order. In the example we just did, we put gallons in the numerator, miles in the denominator, so we need to keep that order in the other ratio. Let's do number 1 together, and then you can do the rest by yourself. Number 1, the ratio of boys to girls in the 6th grade is 5-3. If there are 150 boys in the grade, how many girls are there? First, identify what we are comparing. We are comparing boys to girls. So when I put my units, I'm going to do boys in the numerator and girls in the denominator. Well, now let's set up what we know. The ratio of boys to girls is 5-3. Since the 5 is listed first, that represents 5 boys and then 3 girls. Now set up what we don't know. If there are 150 boys, so since it's boys, it needs to go in the numerator. How many girls? So my unknown is how many girls when there's 155 boys. Now let's cross multiply. 5 times x is 5x. And then I would need to do 3 times 155 for the next cross product. Now we simplify, and we get 5x equals 465. Now solve the equation. X is being multiplied by 5, so divide both sides by 5. Five x divided by 5 is 1x, and then 465 divided by 5 is 93. So x has to equal 93 for the ratios to be equivalent and make a proportion. So let's answer the question. If there are 155 boys in the grade, how many girls are there? Well, there would be 93 girls.